everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA.
Hi, friends. It's your girl, Jaquita.
And this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience a little bit more freedom. And you just got a couple of middle adults here talking about our experience from going from our 20s to now. We just a little further along. Want to give you a little bit of what we've unlearned.
Of the pace.
You know what I mean?
Listen.
That's what
we're
we doing.
Just out here living, learning, and trying to share a little along the way. That's
just a
all.
little bit. Just a little bit.
That's
Just
it.
a little bit. Yeah. So Quita, I heard there was something that I heard recently around like the most impactful decades of your life. And apparently studies have shown that the most impactful decade of your life is actually your 60s.
You know, let me tell you something. Because, I love studying generations, right?
Sure.
And people in their 60s are like intent on these are the best years of my life.
Like for real.
Like I have heard them say bump the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. The 60s is where it's at. So
like seriously.
10 out of 10, I understand that.
And I've sensed that. Like I was with a couple people who were in their 60s the other day. And so anyway,
well, you know my crew. You remember my crew?
Oh gosh,
Penny, Janet,
yes.
Lois.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Anybody named Lois? Hey, we love all the Loises out there. We love you. We
shout
love
out
you.
to the Loises, man.
I appreciate Loises.
I miss them. Penny, Janet, Lois, and Karen. We used to have a good time going over there playing sequence. I mean, a fantastic time. Okay.
Dude, I forgot about those. That is hilarious. I love it. And so I definitely I really wanted to say that because I think that this is really us doing what we're doing now, like reflecting on unlearning in our 20s and kind of getting to our 30s. It's such a hearing that statistic really just put in perspective where we really are. And it's like, we have so much further to go.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that. But it's never too early to reach back. It's never too early.
It's never too soon to give back to the people, right?
Pull them on in,
Each one reach one.
Reach one.
Each one reach one. I'm 100% here for that.
Yeah. So, that's what we're trying to do here, folks. We're just trying to give back to our folks that are a couple of one decade behind us, and somebody give back to us too, because we don't know what we're doing out here. You know what I'm saying?
Is there a person in their 40s or 50s who wants to mentor me?
You know what I mean?
Here I am.
Here I am. Right. So anyway, that's what we're doing. So if you know anyone that is coming up in their 20s and kind of getting into this adult world and want to kind of hear from people who are not too far behind them and may be able to help out a little bit, send them this podcast. I think that they might benefit from it. Share and like and comment so that we can get this thing out here, y'all. So anyway, Quita, how was your week?
This week was pretty good. What is today? Today is a random day in May, honey. All right. We are out here living in these streets. I have a little break. I'm in a PhD program, friends. So I literally have a 2-week break between the end of spring to the beginning of my summer class, which starts next week. And I'm kind of upset about it.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
But yeah. So by the time you guys hear this, I will be full blown in classes, but it's gonna be all right, and we're gonna be all right. I'm taking higher ed finance this semester, which really sounds appetizing. Really does not sound exciting at all. But I'm hoping that I'll learn something useful. How about you, friend? How was your week?
That's good. So we just got finished with our Angel Street Spring concert, which was amazing. And if you ever put on an event or a show, you know that it is all in experience. And So we took a little break. So the last couple of days have been kind of down days, which have been nice. And we're about to jump into summer. I think by the time y'all will hear this, I'm gonna be smack in the middle of summer programming. And so we're gonna have kids that we're with every day,
My
all day.
Lord.
Yay. That's gonna be fun.
My
Woo!
Lord.
Come on, shout out for the summer programs out there. It's
Ooh.
important. You're
Mm.
needed. You're needed. So that's
You're
what we're
needed.
doing, and so we're we're trying to get ready for that.
The harvest is plentiful.
It is, bro. It is,
Listen, get out
man.
here
Like
and
it's
work.
crazy out here.
I've done like a couple of like summer programs and worked with a couple of organizations. Like if you have the capacity, like go work with young people in some capacity during the summer, because one, they need us. They need to see us. They need to hear from us. They need our example. They need our
Yeah,
representation. Like go work in some way with young people, whether that's
yeah,
giving a motivational speech somewhere, teaching a workshop, volunteering with your church or with an organization. Just pop up at a community center. Don't pop up, they got security. But like spend
yeah.
time and arrange giving back to young people,
For
because I
real.
think it's immensely important for us to stay connected to who got next. And you're gonna want those connections, because they are the ones who inform how we do the work that we do.
Yeah,
And that's in every organization, in every industry, is going to be informed by who's coming next. And if you don't get around them, that's how your organization dies out, because we're not keeping the voices of the youth in our
man.
in our
Look,
organizations.
it's so crazy because I was literally, and this is not what we're talking about today, y'all. So
It's not. It's not at all the topic.
but I was just in a community meeting today, and most of the people in the meeting had to be 60 plus, at least 50 plus. And at some point we started talking about the youth, and it's like we gotta do something for the youth and all is everybody's trying to do something for the youth. And the reality is it's gonna be hard to do something if you don't know them. And
Yeah.
so you it's important, get in there, man. Like it's because we always have something to say, the old adage, people won't care what you know until they know that you care.
Mm.
And we have all these things we want to say to young people. We want them to know, but we don't take the time for them to get to know us so that they care. So, um
You know what I think is really significant though, is that like our communities are built on families. And I believe
look at that. Look at that. Wait a minute. I just have to point this out, y'all, because that right there, that's what we call a segue. That's what we call a segue. Come on, segue us, Quita.
that was
Segue us.
me.
Segue
and
us.
now for our topic.
Take notes, people.
That was
That's a
smooth. I
professional
don't care
segue.
what y'all say. That was smooth.
She
Okay.
took her time and she just eased on in there. She said,
I was
"What
like
connects?"
the building blocks of society. Okay. But seriously, like all of the things that we like deal with in our jobs, like I think it can all come back to family and the relationships that we saw in the home, and what we've had to unlearn based off of how we grew up, about some experiences that we've had on our own. Like the relationships that you have in your 20s
Yeah,
will define how you build that family unit in your 30s. And I
absolutely.
think that that is ultimately what has the most impact on the community, is how we are building families. And I tell people all the time, as a 30 something year old who is still in these single streets, I tell people all the time that I really feel like, that like a generation of us was kind of held back a little bit, because there were just some lessons that we needed to learn so that we could become healthier, so that we could have more wisdom and insight to enter into healthier relationships and marriages, and so that we would have more information and wisdom to pass down to these people in their 20s who are just learning what it means to date, relationships, friendships, all of that. I feel like because I didn't get married in my 20s, I have a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, information, experience, perspective that I think has given us just kind of like a platform to be able to pour into young people in this area.
Yeah, that was an excellent introduction into this topic. Excellent.
Thank
Totally
you.
off the cuff. This
Thank
is
you.
this is what you
Why they
call
pay me the
talent.
big bucks.
That's talent, boy. I'm telling you, she own it. She in her bag. So that this is so we're gonna talk about relationships. And I think this is and I think it's important, to what you said, Quita. Um, it is like relationships are the building block of our society, and
Mhm.
it is, and family I think is the building block. But family does not have to mean at all times marriage and kids. Family
Yeah,
can be extended. Family, you don't have to have that package in order to have um the building blocks for healthy community, right? I think
for
that's
sure.
important, especially um as people are getting married a lot later. So it's like, hey,
Mhm.
if that's getting married and having children later, I'll say both of those.
Mhm.
And if that's a requirement, right? If we operate like that's a requirement for having a healthy society, then we all gonna be pretty unhealthy for a while because it's not happening as quickly as it has in the past. So there must be something more to it, right? And I
Yeah.
think that is what we want to talk about, is like what kind of the way what we've
Mhm.
unlearned through these different seasons in our lives, whether it be singleness or relationships or both, from our 20s to our 30s, and what that looks like.
Yeah. No, for real. I like what you said because I just remembered that my family is just me sitting in this house
You see what
right
I'm
now.
saying?
Yeah. But I also think that like the way that I have related in friendship has a lot to do.
Yeah.
Friendship, mentorship, um, the way that I relate to the people on my job, the way that I relate to people in my church family. I just think that, like it is all developed by relationships just in
Yes.
general.
Yes. So, Quita, so what we've done is we've just kind of reflecting on what we've learned, y'all, is that we do better with lists.
We do better with some
We
sort of
do better with
structure, okay?
something, written down. And both of us like to talk off the cuff, but we also realize that that may not always be beneficial for y'all. So, um,
We did a
we
little
have
homework.
we have prepared some
Look at us.
things.
I'm so
Look at
proud.
us. We're real
I am
things.
so proud of us.
I am too. I think we did good.
Listen, we
And we
out
did
here,
it before
y'all.
today. Like we actually had it before we got to the recording, which is like
Mhm. Yeah.
big steps for us.
Yeah.
Let's
It
just
it
let's just
is.
name that. You know what I
It
mean?
is. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I
So
I'm proud of me.
I'm
Big up
proud of
to
me,
me.
boy. I
Okay?
had
Big
this
up to me.
like 3 days ago. So
First of all, Ruth Abigail does tend to be ahead of me. Not even gonna lie. Yeah, yeah, no, shout out to you, RA, and
thank
I
you.
never call you RA. Clip
You
that.
don't. That was weird.
Uh,
Yeah.
cut. Shout out to you, Ruth Abigail, for being on top of the game, and making me feel like I can't be a slacker. When
There you
your
go.
friends stop slacking, you got you got to pick your game up.
And you know what? We haven't done this yet, but we got to give a shout out to our producer,
Man, shout out to producer
to
Joy,
producer Joy,
y'all.
because she keeps us in line, and she is really the
A
reason
rod and a
that
staff.
we are.
She
And
got a rod and a staff.
oh boy. And if you haven't read the Bible in a few years, you don't know what that means. And so that's okay. That's okay. A rod and a
You know what
staff.
that everybody know you got the idea. I bet you get the gist. What a rod sound like. That's what Joy got. Okay. They know what that means.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're gonna get back
Oh
to this topic.
man.
So she said, oh, yeah, you probably should. Um, so what we've done is we prepared some things that we have unlearned in regards to relationships and singleness from our 20s and our 30s, from our 20s, that kind of has landed us where we are in our 30s, which I think we're both in pretty good places most of the time. Let's be real. It's not always great,
I give myself
right?
an 83.
Okay. Not bad. That'll work.
83 to 90, you know.
Okay. All right. B plus to an
Yeah.
A minus.
Yeah, B
That'll
plus,
work.
A minus. B
Yeah.
plus, A minus.
I think
Yeah.
that's great. I
I
think
think
that's
that's
great.
exactly where I am.
I think that's probably where I be too most of the time. It's like, hey, it's just kind of where it is. So slightly above average. Slightly above average. And so
Mm.
I think that we're just gonna kind of go through some of the things we've unlearned. So, and we'll just talk about it. So, Quita, I'm gonna kick it to you. Why don't you start?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start with this one because I feel like this one is the one that it was one of my biggest lessons. And this came from relationships, situationships. Y'all know how it goes. You know, it'd be real hard to find and stuff out here in these streets.
What you said?
But I wrote that real reflection will bring more accountability than blame.
Ooh.
Yeah, thank you. I was waiting for Ruth Abigail to like to hype me up.
Oh. No, go ahead
No,
and let that sit for a minute.
listen, more accountability than blame. And I can remember in certain things coming to an end, sometimes a jolting end. You know, they were never soft landings, like, oh, we just floated away. You know, like they were like, I'm sorry, what? Like
Right.
you did what? But I remember spending so much time thinking, well, if they would have just did this, and if he would have just did this, and he said this, said that, and then that's what set me off. And if he would have X, Y, and Z, and why couldn't he just see me? Why couldn't he just prize me? Why couldn't he just blah 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 blah? And I spent a long time in that area of blame. And you know, blame is really loud in your mind, right? Like it is like blasting out. But accountability is like she like creeping over. She like, excuse me. Hey girl,
Yeah.
excuse me. You know, she real polite. She's like, I see you. All right, you're not ready to hear me. And it wasn't until like my emotions died down a little bit that I was able to see me versus seeing what the other person did. And I think that that's not just in romantic relationships. I think that's in friendship. You
Yeah.
know, I think that that is in our work relationships. You know, anything where you are facing any sort of conflict or where you're facing any sort of confrontation. You know, we spend a lot of time stressing about how to confront other people, but not as much time about how we have to confront ourselves. And that was something that I really had to learn was, okay, Jaquita, before you spend all this time blaming this other person for blase, blase, blah, where did you contribute to kind of the breakdown? Where did you contribute to the breakdown in communication? Where did you contribute to the breakdown in trust or the breakdown of vulnerability or the breakdown of honesty? You know, identify what broke and then figure out how you contributed to it.
Do you find that that is a harder who do you think has a harder time with that, men or women?
You know what? Low key, low key, low key.
Say it
Ooh,
out loud. Say it out loud.
I feel like I have learned. I work with a lot of men of varying ages, and men are like really good at being able to like kind of like identify what went wrong and why and move on past it. But I think that and I don't want to generalize too much, but I do feel like sometimes women can have okay, I just had a thought. I think that it's also because women process in community. And so like you got other people as you're telling the story from your point of view, now all of your friends are all like, "Oh no, child, he ain't this, he ain't da 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 da." And then we get all hyped up because we got we got a parade of voices like, "Girl, you right, you good, you right,
Uh-huh.
you good." And I feel like men process things generally, this is very generally speaking, are process things more alone or internally. Not all men, but just generally. And I think that they're able to come to these conclusions sometimes a little bit faster. I feel like they might be a little bit more decisive about these things too. I'm sorry, when I thought about like processing in community, like Risa Tisa, like with her 50 or 51 episodes, like let me like inviting us all in. I did watch a couple of them. I was like, oh girl, wait, what? Say what? I'm trying to perfect that pretending to be on the
Yeah,
phone thing. Like, how did he do that for like 2 years? This man pretended to be on the phone and you never knew. But
that's
like we process like that. Like we're like bringing the people. Like I want to hear the voices of the people in regards to my situation where, you know, that's my reflection. What's yours?
yeah. I think it's just a very much women struggle with accountability, and I think that one of the reasons is because we are I think we've there's just recently this I said when I say recently, maybe the next 20, 30, 40 years, this you know, the female empowerment movement, which I think has 90% has been good. Some of that though has kind of swung the pendulum that's made, you know, women the hero and men the enemy in a lot of ways. And so I think we have to balance that out. Like women mess up too. We mess up a lot. And we don't always take responsibility for the actions sometimes of how we contribute to the breakdown of relationships. And I think that we have had this like we have to overcompensate, I think, for what has been for being suppressed for so long, which we
Mm.
absolutely have been as a gender in the world. But that doesn't mean that you get to excuse behaviors. And that's just real, like straight up. So I just think we struggle with it. And I'm not saying men don't either, but I do think that in this culture, we give women permission to blame men for stuff.
Yeah, and I'm going to say also because I think that a lot of those responses are coming from real experiences of neglect, of possibly some sort of relationship issues. I don't want to say abuse, but like
Yeah,
sometimes like it is like you are triggered, and it does take a moment for man or woman. It takes a moment to kind
it
of
absolutely does.
retreat away from being triggered, and like reapproaching, a situation and seeing it from a balanced perspective. But yeah, accountability I think is just hard in general because it requires you backing away from your right to be right.
Correct.
Like,
Exactly.
and you have to be able to step back from that and say, even if I was right in some instances, I contributed to things going wrong. And I think it makes you a better leader, not just a better, relationship partner or a better friend, but it makes you a better leader to be able to see where, okay, I contributed to what went wrong. And I
Yeah.
think that you should always, in every situation, be able to do that. It was just something I unlearned in relationships. And
Yeah.
I remember the moment, and usually in relationships, I'm also like very like if you leave me too long, I'm gonna write a sermon about what happened. Like in my mind. Like I got a word
Yeah.
for it. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, you want to play with me? Well, let me tell you something. I spoke to Jesus and he gave me a little metaphor. He gave me a little, and then I promise you the next time you approach me, I got, and then the Lord had to be like, yeah, that sounded real good, didn't it? It felt real good. Let me show you you. And I was like, oh, because I thought because the Lord gave me understanding about the situation that I was in the clear. And the Lord was like, nah, but thank you. Nah, now here's your word. And I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
snap. And accountability stings way worse than that blame. Mm.
Absolutely. That's why we don't want
Yeah.
to do it because it's and like I'll kind of in that same vein something that I've one of the things that I've had to unlearn is that and accountability is a big reason for this, right? Is that one status meaning singleness versus being in a relationship is not easier than the other. And
Mm.
because when you have, you know, when you've decided that you're going to become one with another individual, that mirror is a lot clearer than when you was by yourself. You start seeing more of who you really are more often, and you have to
Mm.
deal with that. And if you don't deal with it, you're gonna end up back where you came from, which is being single. That's just the reality. You know, I'm for
For
real.
dang.
Like, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
this shit's real.
Yeah.
Like, like I know I could be a
Say it with
little
your
blunt.
full chest, Ruth
I'm just,
Abigail.
I will, and will.
Ruth said you're gonna end up back where you came from if you don't start looking at yourself now.
It's the truth. Now,
Listen.
you better do
And
it
that's what we're
because
here to do. We're here to tell the truth.
no, because you can't keep ignoring the parts of yourself that need to be refined when you have another human who has to deal with you every day.
Yeah.
And so I do think that one status is not easier than the other. I think there is this underlying narrative that life gets easier with a partner, and it's not true. It's not a
Trying to
either.
get to
It's
that
not a
2 income
comparison.
household, baby.
It's right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we can share stuff, and I ain't got to do everything, and all this stuff. Yeah, all that might yes, and there are going to be moments where you do have to do everything,
Hmm.
and honestly, that can feel worse because you
Yeah.
actually looking at somebody who's
It's,
not
it's
doing it.
not just your everything anymore.
It's
You
like,
know?
well, you know, and I've been the person on the other end where I'm the one sitting down and he's the one doing everything because I don't either
Mm.
have the energy or the time or whatever, and vice versa. So like there is there's realities to the situation on both ends. And I think that that's something I've had to unlearn is like, don't glorify one over another. They both are difficult. They have their difficult moments. They have their beautiful moments and their difficult moments.
Yeah.
And that's so anyway, what do you think?
No, I definitely feel like that's something that like even though I'm not in a relationship that I've started to unlearn is that like marriage will be easier. Like
Oh
that
Lord.
I like that once this person gets here. I often think about it when I'm cooking. I'm like, man, cuz I like to cook. But who in the world likes to wash these dishes? And I be in there like, man, and when I get married, it's gonna be somebody to wash the dishes.
That's
But and
hilarious.
also there's another person to feed. Like,
There
and
that
my
part.
little and I cook, I can cook one big meal and it lasts me 3-4 days. You know what I'm saying? Now it's another person. I'm like, oh, I gotta oh, you require more. Oh, you're still hungry.
Oh,
Oh, you yeah,
so you get up in the middle of the night and you eat food at 3 a.m.
you better go back to sleep. Oh
So wait a
no,
minute.
no.
Hold
You got
on.
to
I
hug
thought
that
this,
man
but
tight at night. Don't be getting up out this bed eating.
at 10 o'clock it was here, and 7 o'clock in the morning it's gone. Oh, we don't have dinner tonight like I thought we was. Oh, I gotta cook again. I'm sorry, that's just my own,
No, I'm sorry.
you know.
I didn't mean to
Just
trigger you.
sorry.
But like like you have these romanticized moments where,
Yeah.
like you're sitting on the couch and you're imagining, your husband there. And you're like, oh, this is gonna be so great until he don't want to watch what you want to watch. He trying to turn it to ESPN, and it's like, no, baby, this is Us was on. I don't know what you doing. I like The Rookie. Okay, The Rookie is my show. If
Yes.
you turn it
Yes.
off The Rookie, we gonna
Yes.
have some problems up
Well,
in here.
well,
Okay, like, but
well,
like we don't ever you get there's a point, especially in your 20s, where you are literally romanticizing what this will be like.
for
Like,
sure.
oh, he will hold my hand. What if his hands are cold all the time? Like, like
That's hilarious.
we don't balance it out. But I also think it's important if you are in your 20s and you are desiring to be married, you are desiring to find your person, spend time, spend time with married people. Spend time learning from their stories. Spend time, especially if you are a woman, spend time with wives, man, spend time with husbands. Like, spend time learning and kind of gleaning from their experience, especially a newlywed, because they learn it on the go.
Yeah.
Get them lessons as they go. Just catch the crumbs. Excuse me, let me get that. I need that lesson. I need what you're learning right there.
Hilarious.
Like spend time, and if you don't have access, spend time observing. Like,
Mhm.
just watch how the people that you admire watch for the things that nobody else is seeing, that no one else is paying attention to. Watch for the cost of things, right?
Yeah.
Yes, she bought him his plate and that was cute, but what was the cost of that for her? What was the sacrifice of it for her? And what did he gain? Why does she continue to do it? And this is not me saying that you got to make a man play. Don't y'all come on here. Do not come for me. I'm just saying, if you see a woman making a plate for a man, watch and see how that works for their relationship. And
Right.
not to say that you are going to end up doing it like they do it, but you need to know that what they are doing for each other, because that's an exchange that's
Yeah.
happening there. What you see people doing for each other is producing a result that's not always spoken. And so I think the biggest thing we can teach people is how to glean things when you don't have direct access. You still need to be watching.
That's right.
Watch and learn. Watch and learn, baby.
Yeah. Watch and learn. All right. What you got, Quita?
I'm gonna shift a little bit. One thing I feel like I just thank you for the
No
illustration.
problem.
One thing that I feel like I've just recently learned is that there is a difference between being admired and adored. And this one kind of struck me because you always, I have heard people say, and this is not me saying anything, but it's something that I had to learn. I've heard people say that the anointing is attractive. My God. Right. And that people get attracted to the gift.
Wait. Do they put that ending on it?
Hallelujah. Okay. The anointing is attractive. But no, seriously, when you see people who are operating in their gift and are
Yeah.
operating in their gift at a high capacity, and not even just like, like they're center stage, and they're in the midst of something, but like even as you're interacting with them on a daily basis, they might be counseling you, they might be guiding you in some way, that is attractive. Like what God put inside of us is God. Like that looks good. Everything I heard it on in church on Sunday, that everything in God's kingdom looks like God. Right. And so if I'm in God's kingdom and I'm operating and I'm on kingdom business, all right, and God is working in me, then that what God is doing in me looks like God. And God
Yeah.
is beautiful, glorious, magnificent, splendor, all of that is attractive. And it took me a while to be able to distinguish between the people who were there because they were admiring something in me, they were pulling at something in me, they had a need and they saw something in me that fit the need. It took a minute for me and them, to be honest, to be able to distinguish what's pulling you, like what got you here to this moment. And it's I think it always starts with admiration, right? That's how we approach a beautiful painting. Thank you. Right. That's how we approach, something, a sunset, nature, anything that you find, just beautiful and captivating. That's how we approach it. We approach it with admiration. But adoration will bring about responsibility. It will bring about a need to provide for that thing, a need to take care of that thing, a need to do more. Like you want to invest,
Yeah.
right, when you adore something.
Yeah.
Admiration does not come with investment. I love
No.
to go to museums. I love museums. I literally go in there and I can stare at a painting for
Mm.
like ever and be like, oh my God, the way they did this brushstroke. And I can admire it. I'm not buying it. Like I'm not putting money on the
That's really
table
good,
for that
Quito.
thing.
That's
I
really
am
good.
admiring it and I will spend time with it. I will say good things about it. I'm like, y'all see this painting? Oh, this is beautiful. This is amazing. I love the way this is set up. But mm-mm, mm-mm. What's my investment?
Yeah.
Right? Talk about that investment, Ruth Abigail.
Yeah. Come on, investment. No, that's good. I was sitting here thinking, when you're talking about the gift, that is really interesting. Yeah. So the gift that is displayed, whatever that might be, um, whatever that might be, your gift might be
Mhm.
being an artist, your gift might be working on in technology, and that can be really attractive. When you're
Yeah.
operating at a high level, it becomes really attractive. But it is also one of the reasons it's attractive is because you are contributing to that person, but it's not necessarily a mutual receptive thing. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that, to your point, the admiration piece is like people admire gifts because it feeds me. Your gift
Hmm.
feeds me. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I feel the need to pour back into you. Thank you
Yeah.
for feeding me, right? And
Yeah.
so if you are on the side where you're the one that's doing the feeding, don't get it confused, right? Don't have an expectation that investment is on the way. It might not
Mm-mm.
be. And so
Mm.
I think that when it comes to when it comes to kind of understanding understanding that relationship between you and another person, I think one of the things that's important is knowing who you are outside of your gift. If you don't know that, then you will absolutely um mistake admiration for adoration. And
Girl.
that but so I met my husband online, and I I definitely put a plug in for online dating. For those of you that
I do
would
not.
be willing to do that. It's the way you meet people. But anyway, we can talk about that another day. But I it's a good, the reason I say it's good, and it's good for me, it worked for my personality. Um the reason I say it's good is because you have an opportunity to be your full self
Mm-hmm.
um on that platform. When I met my husband, one of the things that was the most important to me was making sure that he fit me outside of my work. Honestly, because I just realized I am the Ruth Abigail that most people don't see 80% of the time. I need him to fit that more than I need him to fit me in public. I need him to fit
Yeah.
me in private more than he fits me in public, because my public might change. But my private is always going to be who I am. And if that doesn't work, if the majority of the way we connect is outside of the house and not in the house, it's going to be a problem. And so I think we see, we see these model couples, and especially couples that work together and do ministry together and do business together, and they out here rocking together. That is a portion of their life. And don't get it twisted, they ain't out there doing that what you see most of the time. Most of the time they're living regular life day to day, and it's probably boring. uh if you can't do boring with them, they ain't for you, because most of your time gonna be bored. You ain't gonna be doing nothing exciting. And so I think that was when I was kind of evaluating seriously whether or not I wanted to pursue this long-term relationship with this man. I was like, man, how are we just in regular spaces? The part of me that most people don't see. I am, who am I? And I had to really know who that was, and who is he? And I had to really understand, like, okay, yeah, he fits me. He fits me at the house. That helped me.
Mhm.
Now again, both Quinn and I have very public lives in some form or fashion. So I think that's just a real healthy way to think about it, if that's you too, or something you want to pursue, or you kind of see that in your future. But even
Mhm.
if you don't necessarily have a public life, I think that the hack is how do we how who am I when I'm not exciting? And does it fit? Does
Ooh.
he or she fit me when I'm not exciting?
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's good, especially because I'm big personality, right? And bubbly, bubbly, bubbly. But I have different modes. Like
Yeah.
we are not
Mhm.
high octane, I'm not at a 10 all day
All the
long.
time.
And I am actually a person that can retreat away. Like I need like refresh, recharge in order to be fully me. And like can you need somebody that can support all of you and that can hold all of you. And I think a lot of times again when we're thinking about those romanticized versions of who our partners might be, like we are thinking about the public self. Like we are thinking about who can I, pop up with at this event? Who can I take to a
Right.
wedding with me? Who can I,
Exactly.
who can I take to my family? But that also goes back into the knowing you and dealing with you. And y'all, a lot of that happens in friendships.
That's
Like
it.
a lot of
Real
you
talk.
discovering how you are in any type of relationship comes from you really allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to be changed by friendship. Like you learn how you interact with people by those that you allow in. And I just think that that's really important. So I really like that one, Ruth. That was good. I was gonna bring that up if you didn't, because when Ruth told me about the private versus public self, I like wrote that down. Like, oh, he need to fit my private. He needs to fit my at home self. He needs to fit my quiet self. He needs to fit my, and you don't want someone that is just for show.
Yeah, no. It won't last. It won't
Mm-mm.
last because then you got to feel like you got to be on all the time
Yeah,
in
we're
order
looking
to
for
keep.
forever.
Yeah,
You
like,
know.
and forever is a long time.
Yeah,
Like that's a long time. That's a
yeah.
long time.
And when you talk about forever, you're talking about somebody that's going to be committed to the changes of you.
That's right.
Right. I had a friend, and I remember two of my really, really close friends. And when one of them had a parent pass away, I
Mm,
remember, them telling me like I had to learn my wife all over again.
man. Yep.
Like I had to walk, and you don't know what you're gonna walk with. You're gonna walk through life with this person through everything. Through everything. I think about how college graduation changed me, about how getting new jobs changed me, but there's deeper stuff is coming,
Yeah.
right? And like you are committing yourself um to taking on all of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and in that, with a person, I think because I've had two friends of mine, same thing. One lost a parent, and it was just it's a whole different ball
mhm.
game. Like it's a
Yeah.
different person, and
Yeah.
so I think one of the other things that I've had to unlearn, and my mom helped me with this. My mom used to tell us all the time. I didn't date a lot, really at all. Like I rarely dated.
Me
I had,
neither.
a couple of little spouts here and there, but I wasn't out there in these streets. And so, but my
Lord
mom,
kept us safe in these streets.
not for real.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful, amen. But my mom helped me because she used to tell me all the time. She was like, because she didn't want us to worry about the fact that we weren't dating all the time, and she would always just encourage us, saying, "You only need one. You only need one." She would say that all the time. And it really helped me because one of the things that I had to unlearn, especially, when you're growing up in a culture where people talk more about dating than they do marriage. So you feel like dating is, if you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong. And I'm pro dating. I think dating is important, as you're, continuing on this road towards a long-term relationship, if that's what you want. But if that is what you want, I think it's important in the dating process to understand that you aren't dating men, you're dating a man,
Mhm.
just the one. And or women, you're dating a woman. Like, whichever one you're dating
Mhm.
that person and not the whole gender. And
Oh, that's
some
good.
because what we end up doing is making these assumptions about a gender and
Mhm.
placing them in that, and then treating them like we think the gender is, and
Yeah.
not like that particular person is. So
Yeah.
we don't always get to know them. You know what I mean? And I,
Yeah.
I think that's a huge problem. Like I think we see
Mhm.
that all the time. We listen, I mean, we make music around that reality, right? And then we take it and we
Mhm.
make it Bible. And it's like, hey, that's not necessarily
Don't be
true.
making nothing Bible.
We do though. People make that
Mm.
stuff Bible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
what I'm
You
saying.
do. I understand. Go ahead.
You understand. I mean, yeah. So what you think? You agree? What
No,
you think?
no. 10,000,000%. I remember, and I also think that with that, we build these assumptions of what is supposed to happen in a relationship. I remember one specific instance, like I, you know, I like to dress up. Like I like to look cute. Like I like to do a thing. And I enjoy, my love language is words of affirmation. And not that I'm like trying to pull compliments, I'm literally being myself, but I literally had in my mind the way that a man or someone I was
Mm.
dating or talking to should respond to that, right? And one person in particular was like, "You look nice." And I'm like, "Sir, Sir, this
Right.
was an educated man. I know you got vocabulary. I know you I know you got options.
Hilarious.
Nice. And I just kept pushing the issue. I was like, I look splendid. I look beautiful. I look gorgeous. I
Here's a
look
thesaurus. Right. Yeah.
yeah, like, hey,
Yeah.
you need some synonyms, okay? But I remember the Lord checking me on that and being like, wait a minute. Like, you cannot put your expectations of how a person responds. You don't know what it took for him to give you the you look nice. You know, so then he started saying, you look really nice. And I was like, thanks.
You got to give that to
Thank you.
him. He did good.
No. I, like I said, again, accountability, more accountability than blame. But I had to learn that. Like, I had to learn that, Jaquita, you have built up this, romanticized version of how this person that you haven't even met yet is going to respond and is
Right.
going to, is going to act and is going to be, and how he's going to orient himself, and da 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 da. And you're not allowing this person to be themselves.
Yes.
Because you are trying to force them into a mold of who you think they should be, based off of a lot of generalizations, based off of a lot of really, really good movies. The Notebook messed us all up.
For real.
Let's talk about the movies that messed us up.
No, the movies,
okay?
man, that
The
jacks you
movies
up,
messed us
dog.
up.
That'll jack you up, because
we look
really
back
be
at it
having
now, we'd be like, that was
really be
toxic.
having these ideas. And it's like, it's
You
supposed
know,
to go like that.
I just want to say this for the culture, though. Not too much on Love and Basketball. Not too much. Okay, not too much. I know it's problematic.
Very.
All right. It was very problematic, but it's still one of my favorite movies.
It's a great movie.
But those movies messed us up. We were
Yeah.
just like, this man is supposed to come running and, and take me off my feet, and walk through the pouring rain, like, Jerry Maguire, you complete me, girl. These men are they not saying that. They say, hey, you
No, they
good?
ain't saying that.
You all right? That is
Right.
real care and concern
Right.
that man is expressing to you.
Good.
I think one of the things that I heard at a recent bridal shower I was at, it was, know your man. Right? Know your man. Don't let nobody know him better than you.
That's
Right?
it.
You should be able to catch.
Absolutely.
You should be able to catch. I know he's smiling at y'all, but I look in his eyes and say, baby, you good. I see you. I see you. I know you. Seek first to understand and then be understood, baby. Y'all better get out here and start trying to understand these men, women, whatever other side of the spectrum you own. You need to do some research on yours. Right? You should be an expert of your partner. You should be an expert and not holding them to unrealistic standards and expectations that you built off of culture. I remember one of the things that God said to me that really kind of cut, because I was building up all these expectations in this relationship, and I was like, oh, well, he gonna do this and he gonna do that and we gonna do this and this is how it's gonna go. And the Lord said, do you think I preserved you for this long for you to date the world's way? You gonna date my way. And I was like, let me tell you something. One thing about me is I'm a hear and listen to the Lord.
Yes, she
okay.
is.
That's one thing. That's one thing. And when the Lord said that, I was like, okay, there's something that I've learned that I need to unlearn about dating. Because everything that I've learned, I haven't learned it. Number one, I haven't learned it from experience, because I didn't have a lot of experience growing up. We can talk about that at a later time. We'll go back to my childhood and stuff. But I didn't have a lot of experience dating. So when I did start dating in my late 20s, early 30s, like it was a long learning experience where God was molding and shaping me in some things. And so yeah.
Yeah.
The things.
One of the I had a thought. It's coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back.
Take your time. Take your time, daughter.
It's coming back.
That's what they say when they try to get the track to play.
Yep.
That's all right.
I just had this. It's funerals. When that happens at funerals, that's what gets me. Anyway, I can't handle. I can't handle those types of things in settings like that. So thank you for that visual. Um. So yeah, we're just gonna move on because it's gone. Okay. So the one of the other things that wait, it's your turn.
Okay. Well, no, I think go ahead.
It's my turn. Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, so I think that something that I had to unlearn from the course of my 20s to my 30s is what a real godly man looks like. And I just got my point. Let me go back to it real quick because I think it's important. And then we can go there. So one of the things that I remember I told my husband that was really important to me when we were like early on is this idea of really focusing on the things in that person that won't change. So the core things about who they are, those the values of who they are, the character that they have,
Oh, that's good.
those things are who they are, right? And so it's learning that individual, this is their mix and their makeup. Focus on that because that other stuff can shift. And we always we it just drives me crazy how much we focus on the things that can literally change from day to day. Anyway, so part of that is understanding what a real godly man looks like. Because if we're not careful, let's be real. Quita, tell me if this is true or not true. You have spent more time, me and you, we spent more time paying attention to what a man knows versus how he lives. Not true?
Feel like we could put the Jeopardy music right there.
Fair. Okay. Maybe that's just me.
I don't know. I need you to expound on that a little bit.
Well, okay, let me say this.
I'll get to it.
Let me say this. I think because I assume that because he knows something, he must be living that. I used to think that because he knows scripture, he lives it.
Okay.
But that's not always true. And that if you
no.
That's not always true. And I also, because again, I was focusing more on, if I'm honest, when I was younger, I definitely was focusing more on how other people would see him versus how I see him. And so that knowing, being able to quote things, being impressive when it comes to your faith and all this stuff, what the church going kind of rhythm that people see you have, that people also see that I have, was more important to me, right? It I won't say more important, but it definitely had a level of importance where it was like, if I didn't see those things as clearly, then it was like, it was hard for me to really pay attention to that particular type of guy. And so I think I wanted to, because y'all always used to joke about me. I'm not looking for the good guy. That's not who I am. I've never been attracted to
Child, she want them thugged out.
So, but inside, but I at least needed some version of good to be publicly seen, because otherwise it felt like, well, I don't even know how I could get away with this. But I had to unlearn.
Ruth Abigail, how do you explain this man from the streets?
I'm just saying, like, that's just
That's
being
all right.
honest.
My brother Ty came through.
Oh, for sure. He's perfect
Yeah.
blend.
He came through.
Yeah, perfect blend.
More
But
country than hood.
You said what?
More country than hood.
For sure.
Yeah,
But
which I think works better.
That part, which I would have never thought.
Yeah.
But God is sovereign. So, but I really just, I think that picture of him in my head, a lot of it had to do with, again, how he was able to be impressive in front of other people, what he knew, right? And the way he moved, him being godly had to do with more so that than how he really moved, right?
Yeah.
Behind the scenes. But when people weren't around, how was he then? And I didn't really start paying attention to that until a little later in life. And then that knowledge part becomes, for me, this is me. The knowledge part becomes less important when I see you live it. I care less about what you can quote. And I care less about you showing up in church on Sunday if I see you living it. Like I really had to grow into that, and I'm so grateful I did. Because we all have different stories, we all have different paths, and we have to honor that. And it doesn't look just one way. So I think knowing what a godly man really, if that's what you're looking for, godly man or godly woman, looks like, if that's what you're really looking for, you got to look past the public view of them.
I'm looking for the man of God.
You know,
I'm looking for the man of God. No, I think that that's really, really good. I also realize, I think for me, I'm always looking like, is he teachable? Like,
Yeah.
and not like, is he teachable to learn what I know, but does he, like, how does he hear from God? How does he follow God? How is he led by God? And it may not look like, you know, the way I'm set up. It may not be in the same, vein or have the same look of it, but I need to know that when you're coming to me, that you're not coming just on your own thought and your own authority. Like, what are you connected to?
Yeah.
And what, because if I've spent 30 something odd years of my life following God, and I'm trusting that if I submit myself under you, I need to know that what I'm submitted to is submitted to the thing, to the God that I've been following my whole life. And again, I feel like God will also verify that, because he's my father too. And I feel like God will verify for me that, like, hey, it may not look like what you think it should, but I'm with him. I got him.
Yeah.
And I got y'all.
Yeah.
Like, that's paramount. That's
Yeah.
number one on the list for me. So I love that.
Yeah. That's good.
All right, I'm gonna bridge two of mine together if you don't mind.
Do it.
Okay. So one thing that I said was know your entrances and your exits, right? Meaning know when it's good to proceed into a relationship or into a deeper understanding or relationship with a person, and absolutely know when a thing has come to its end. Like, or when you've hit a point where it's being defined one way or the other. Because we stay in these situationships too long. That's how it became a situationship, because you lingered.
You lingered.
It wouldn't have become a situation if you had recognized your exit, right? And the only way I learned.
Oh, that's good. I don't know. Something just hit me, Jaquita.
My Lord. Well, let me say it one more time. It would not have become a situation if you had recognized your exit. And I promise you that God will give you a clue. It could be the red flag that you ignored. It could be the thing that they stated. They literally, and I'm speaking to the women of God, the young women of the Lord, and to all of those who identify, saints and friends. I'm speaking to us all. Believe what he said. Men don't be lying all the time. At one point, he told you the truth. It was when you stopped believing him. At some point, that man told you his whole truth. Okay? When did you decide?
We be making stuff up.
When did you decide, daughter? When did you decide to believe something else? All right, I'm gonna leave that there. But seriously, I have been blessed to have a multitude of friends, a diversity of friends, and you get to those points where you're like, oh, could it be? Is it him, Lord? And then I noticed recently when the Lord gave me my exit. And for the first time, I got off on the off ramp. I said, oh, that's my exit right there. I'm supposed to get off on exit 31 and I'm off. And I was able, because I got off the ramp, I kept a friend. I kept a friend because I got off the ramp and I recognized my exit.
Yeah.
We like to stay on that road. And the more you stay on that road, trying to muddy the waters, trying to make it something that is not, trying to mold and shape it, trying to see if you can do this to make him like you, or see if he can commit this way. And now your feelings are all messed up in there. And you cannot get back to a place where you're able to exit delirium, where you're able to exit confusion, and to remain friendly and to be a solid person in that person's life, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that from that, I want to add as my addendum, because I'm pulling 2 points together, is if you allow your past back into your present, you can jeopardize your future. And because we don't get off on these exit ramps, we're literally carrying these people along with us. We are literally carrying the people that were supposed to get off on the exit ramp, and you still got them in the car with you, boo. They in the back seat. Everywhere you go, they there. And you trying to meet your man of God. Remember, you're not looking for men, you looking for a man. You looking for one. You in search of the woman of God. You looking for the one. But you got Susie and Jackie in the back seat because you never took them to the exit ramp.
My Lord.
And because you are carrying people with you, you're carrying those experiences with you, you're carrying those thoughts, those wishes, you know, like, man, I wish it had worked out. I wish it had did this. I wish it had done that. And, you know, and you sending the hey big head text messages still. You still sending happy birthday messages. I'm coming for you because I've been there. Been there, did it. You
Talk
still
about
sending
it,
the Merry
Jesus.
Christmas text message?
Talk
You
about it.
sitting there at 12 o'clock midnight sending your Happy New Year to 12 people that should have got the off ramp. And you are wondering why your person hasn't found you. It's because you got a car full.
My Lord.
You loaded down.
My Lord.
Know your entrances and your exits. I cannot stress it enough. Take those, you have to learn how the Bible says that we are to lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us and run with patience the race that is set before us. If you are still carrying, and I really want to speak to whoever is listening right now, if you are still carrying something that you know the Lord has told you to put down, I'm guaranteeing you that what you keep trying to put in front of you is half of what God really wants to give you. That thing that you keep reaching behind you and trying to put back in front of you so that you can pursue it again, it is only half of what God actually has for you. And if you would allow God to really give you what he's really intending, and it's not just that God is trying to give you a partner, God is trying to give you you. He's trying to help you realize the next level of you, realize the next version of you, realize the greatness he's put inside of you, realize the greatness he has for you. The Bible says he will not withhold any good thing from you. Right? Stop if you got to go back and get it, if you plan go fetch it with something that's behind you, it's not for you. Allow yourself to walk into something new. And that was something that I really had to learn, because since probably Ruth Abigail, since you met me, I always had somebody that I was like, if only when the time is right, it will happen and it will occur. And it was like, baby, what is you holding on to?
Yep.
Right. And because again, there were some friendships that I lost because I did not exit properly.
Yeah.
And if I had exited, and I'm not talking about exited from the person, I'm talking about exit from my mindset about it, exit from my thoughts about it, about what it should be, about I'm a person who holds on to hope. You know, learn your entrances and your exits and learn to let go so that you can pursue what God really has.
So producer Joy, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that whole little however long that was, a couple minutes, and we're gonna clip that and we're gonna put that, because y'all need to hear that. That right there was good. I was just sitting here. Amen.
Child, and I felt bad. I was like, oh, I need to let Ruth in, but it's
Oh no, you
burning
didn't.
up in me.
No, you
It's
didn't.
burning up in me.
No, you take that one. That was good. And amen and amen. And I think that knowing your entrances and exits, where it gets tricky and where I have been tripped up, is I know my exit and I'll exit. But then people start to spin the block and you think it's time to get back on. It is not. Stay off.
It is not.
Stay off. Don't
It
worry
is
about
not.
what they're doing. You
It is
knew when it
not.
was time. I done exited 4 or 5 times. For what? That's crazy, right? I mean, it just, but I think staying on your path, because that spin the block will get you. They will, that will happen.
Don't make the exception the rule.
Come on.
Are there instances, are there
That's good.
cases where it really was right person, wrong time? Sure. But you're trying to use that as an excuse to
Yeah.
stay connected to something that has ended. It
It's
is
done.
expired, baby. Like, it is done.
It's
And
done.
you keep trying to bring this expired food back in and wondering why it's making you sick.
Yeah. That's done. It's done.
It's
Be done.
done.
You gotta
Stop. You
move
can't.
forward.
Mm-mm.
You gotta move
Mm-mm.
forward.
And moving forward requires trust and belief that there's something else,
Yes,
that there's
that's right.
something better. And you
That's right.
got to believe that.
I don't have any more to say about that. I'm gonna pivot to, I think, I don't know. I have a couple more. We'll decide when we're gonna end it. This is just good. Thank you, Quita. This is good. I appreciate this. Is good. This is wonderful.
Y'all, I
So
didn't want to do this episode, so I'm
you
glad.
didn't, but this is you. You blessing me. You blessing me. Um, one of the things that I think, especially today in the culture that we live in, where we're exposed to everyone and everything, and our comparison levels are on 10, our anxiety is on 10 because we're always looking at what we're not. Unlearning trying to be desirable and wait for someone who desires you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to, I have had to unlearn that, right? I had to unlearn to not try to be desirable, but to wait until someone desires the real you. So I did, like, I did this online dating thing like 4 different times over the course of several years. I would just, I'd be in and out, in and out, in and out. And I did all the things. I started doing it before the apps were really popular, so I was definitely like in that real online dating age, like towards the end of that, and then the apps came and you get to the apps or whatever. But making my profile was one of the most difficult things that I had to do, because I was like, what do I want him to see, or what do I want to put out there, and blah 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 blah. And I constantly modify what I thought would be attractive, right? Whether it's pictures, whether it's descriptions, whether it was like, leaning into, my job or my faith or whatever, or not, right? Or downplaying either one of those. Because I was like, I don't want him to think I'm too busy. I don't want him to be intimidated, or I don't want him to think that I'm like, too much into church, or like I'm like, I want to still be cool. I want to think I'm cool, I'm down, right? Or whatever, like that, those types of things. And I would do it. And let me just be clear, that never helped. It never brought anything that I was really interested in. It brought stuff, but not stuff I wanted.
Yeah.
And I remember that when the last kind of iteration of that for me, I made a very conscious decision to be myself, to put everything out there that was real about who I was. And that, it not only was it, and look, let me be clear. I'm not saying that that's going to result in you finding your spouse. It helped me, but it's just, at the end of the day, what if it doesn't do anything else? It was very freeing and cathartic to do that, because there was a level of confidence that I had in who I was, that I could live into on a regular basis, whether it brought me anything or not. I put my real self out there, and I was proud of her.
Yeah.
I was proud of everything about me. And that was enough. It was like, I have no expectations from this, but I do know that I am proud of who's on display. Right. And so, whether that's on an online platform or in real life, at the end of the day, you want someone to desire the real you. The real you is going to attract the right person. If you don't put your if you don't put your real self out there, you're always going to have to keep up a lie. And that's not going to last long. And I think that I think that we really it is important to understand your full self even before you even go down that road. You gotta know who you really are.
Man,
Good, bad, ugly, all of it, right? And don't be afraid. Don't think you're limiting your options because you are, they say even in marketing, right? When you market, you don't want to market to everyone. You want to market to your ideal avatar. So there is an ideal person that I am talking to when I'm trying to sell my product or when I'm trying to build my audience or whatever. And the worst thing you could do is try to appeal to everybody, because you appeal to everybody,
yeah.
you appeal to nobody. And so
Say that.
you want to appeal to the person, the type of person that you're looking to appeal to. And then what happens is, by appealing to everybody, we try to make decisions for everyone, and people have to make their own decisions. So when you make your decision to be you, then you give other people permission to make sure that they are them. And there's more people that will be attracted to you than to your real self, be actually attracted to your real self, than trying to appeal to the masses. You don't even want
Yeah.
the masses. You don't even want all that attention. It's too much. You ain't got time for all that.
You're only looking for
So
one.
you're looking for one. You really are.
Yeah.
If that's what you're trying to do, we gonna speak from that perspective because that's who we are. So we're interested in finding one person. So yeah, I had to unlearn that, and I'm really grateful I did. It took me a minute. Like I was definitely in my early 30s before that clicked for me. Where I was like, let's stop trying to be what you think people want.
Yeah. No, I literally remember somebody like trying to teach me how to like talk like this and like use my higher register voice and like all of the things that would make me desirable or more attractive. And I remember leaving that, and even though I was willing to try, it made me feel like I wasn't naturally desirable and
Mm,
that I had to try to be desirable. So it actually took me on a journey of like moving away from myself. And I think that the beautiful thing about relationships is that you are allowing someone else to discover what you've already discovered about you.
yeah, that's
Like you
good.
are, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
tight.
Like I gained, like I worked through myself, and I've learned how to be confident in me. I've learned like what's really good about me and what's not always so good.
Mhm.
Right? Like I've learned me. And so I'm not trying to be something. I'm presenting you with the package of me that I've learned. Right? And I'm asking you to go on this journey where we can continue to learn both one another, and where you're going to help me to see more of who I am, and I'm trusting you with that. But it is a journey, and it requires, what you just said is that you have to be desirable to you before you ask somebody else to desire you.
100%.
Like you
100%.
you really got to like you. And
Yeah.
that really took some time for me, because I remember being in high school trying to and thinking through, what does it mean for me to be feminine?
Mm.
I'm 5'11". I'm like as tall as all my male friends. They hit their growth spurts in sophomore year. I was like, thank you, Lord, because I was sick of y'all being 5'8". Like I was tall. I
Yeah.
was, broad shoulders, big boned, as the country folks say. I was big boned. Like, and so what
Yeah.
does it mean for me to be feminine? And I was trying to be a prototype of it. I was like, well, I need to walk like this, and I need to, talk like this. And that's not me. It wasn't until, like I said, I didn't really start, entering the dating scene until later. But it was because I was starting to be me. Like I tell everyone, 28 is the age where it changed for me, where I was like, I really am beautiful, and I really do have good characteristics that I can be proud of and that I really like about myself. But you got to spend some time not just getting to know you, but really getting to love you.
That's right.
And really and going on that journey. And if you need some time away from dating to figure that out, the 20s is the perfect time. there's really no rush. Take some time and get to know you, because it will be the most important thing that you'll have in your relationship. It's the most
Man.
important thing that you bring to the table, is your self-awareness and your ability to help somebody understand you. You want somebody to come in playing a guessing game to a test that you don't have the answers for.
That's good.
You need to
That's
be able to provide a ledger. Like,
yeah.
hey, you got this one wrong. Let me tell you why. It's because, yes, I am like really, really extroverted, but when I get home, like sometimes I do need like 20 minutes to like really like decompress. And then I'm ready to like talk the night away. Right. But if you don't know that yet and you just come home and you in a little funky attitude, and don't nobody know why, and you're asking somebody to guess at a test that you're not able to provide understanding for. And
Yeah.
those are the things that become the pitfalls in our relationships later on.
Yeah.
Right? So really spend some time with you so that you're able to provide the ledger of you. Hey baby, here's the manual. You need to be able to provide. I'm not saying you need to be able to provide everything, but you should be able to help somebody understand who you are. And that in turn is what becomes desirable. Men like that. They like, I know my woman.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
when you're talking about something long term, you want that. Like you need that. And I think the other thing you have to be aware of, and this was something that, I discovered, um, you don't know what he's tired of. So you don't know what his passes look like. And he may not want what you think is desirable, because maybe he's had that and he don't want that no more. He like, I need something different because that ain't working. And that's not where I am in my life. I'm looking for something different anyway. And in our situation, I mean, that's what he was like, you know, I've been down those roads. I'm good. Like I don't want what what people may think I want. Right?
Mm.
I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for someone that is different than what I've experienced before.
And that's what, hold on, because you said something like, because, we always talk about how women are to be found. But
Mm.
he said, I'm looking for. When men get to the point where they know what they're looking for, that's when they can start doing the finding. Y'all are letting men who don't yet know what they look for, they not finding you, baby, and it's not your fault. Like, and I think that's something that I had to unlearn. I'm like, y'all don't know a good thing when you see it.
Yeah, no, they don't.
No, they really don't, because they're not. But it was what got him to that point, like life experience, him making a resolution within himself, right? And you just don't want an unresolved man. You don't want a man who's just kind of like, we'll see where this goes. I'm seeing where life takes me. I'm
Yeah.
seeing, like, you want somebody who has made the resolve of, I'm looking for, and then he finds you, and like,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that, I think a lot of times, that was definitely something that I had to unlearn, was like, you literally take on like some of like the shame of like, oh, well, why he don't want me? Well, why doesn't anyone want me? No, babe, you're wanted, but you got to want you first.
They gotta
Spend
want you
some
first.
time with you, finding you,
Finding you.
and
You
it'll make it
find you, and
easier
then
for you to be
amen.
found.
Amen.
Spend some time in that. And I can only
Amen.
speak to that because I'm a woman. And that's how I would talk to if I was mentoring someone in their 20s, which I have.
Yes. Yeah, find you.
This is what I tell the people I mentor. Like, this is what's important right now.
Yeah.
Whether they're in a relationship or not, this is what I'm telling them.
Mm-hmm. And that's real.
Yeah.
Well, Quita, you got anything else on your list?
Girl, no. 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 I think a thing was done. A
I think a thing
thing
was done.
was done.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was done. I
Yeah.
think so. Hopefully, y'all got something from that. I think this relationship conversation is always going to be relevant, no matter what age stage we are, because we have to do life with people. Um, you know, community is important, therefore relationships are important. And we have all types of relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, parental relationships, all that stuff. And really all these things are important to recognize for all of them. And so yeah, we're always unlearning stuff about relationships. And so I would love to, we'd love to hear what y'all are unlearning about relationships now.
Yeah.
And what kinds of things do you wish you would have unlearned about relationships before you jumped into whatever you're into, whatever that might be.
Yeah. No,
And
that's good.
let's just talk about it. I just think it's always healthy to have these conversations about relationships.
Love to see it. Love to
Absolutely.
see it.
Absolutely. All right, so I think that's it. Are we done?
I'm good.
We're good. Okay. Sweet. Well, people, we're out. Let's keep unlearning together so that we can experience a little more freedom. All right. Peace.
Bye, y'all.